The photograph fell from my hands and shattered on the hardwood floor. Not because I dropped it, because she ripped it from the wall and threw it at my feet. "I'm done living in a dead woman's shadow," Brittany screamed, her face red with rage. "Either those pictures come down or I'm leaving. My name is Maya Rodriguez and I'm 14 years old. The woman in that photograph was my mother, Jennifer. She died of breast cancer when I was 9. And the woman screaming at me, demanding I forget my own mother, is my father's new wife." But let me start from the beginning, because this story, this nightmare, didn't start with broken glass and ultimatums. It started much more quietly, much more subtly, like poison slowly seeping into water. You don't notice it until you've already been drinking it for too long. My mother died on a Tuesday in March 5 years ago. I remember because it was raining and I kept thinking how unfair it was that even the sky was crying. She'd fought cancer for 2 years, 2 long, brutal years of chemotherapy, surgeries, hope, and crushing disappointment. My little brother Lucas was only 6 when Mom died. I was 9, old enough to understand we were losing her, young enough to believe that somehow, miraculously, God would change his mind at the last second. He didn't. Dad fell apart after Mom died. Thomas Rodriguez, the man who'd always been our rock, crumbled into someone we barely recognized. He'd sit in his office for hours, door closed, and sometimes I'd hear him crying. Lucas would crawl into my bed at night, asking when Mommy was coming back, and I'd hold him while we both cried ourselves to sleep. My grandmother, Mom's mother, Abuela Rosa, became our lifeline. She moved in for 6 months, cooked our meals, took us to school, held us when we woke up screaming from nightmares. She kept Mom's memory alive, telling us stories about when Mom was young, showing us old photographs, letting us cry when we needed to. "Your mother's love didn't die with her body," Abuela would say, holding both of us. "It lives in you, in every smile, every kind word, every brave thing you do. She's watching, Mijo's always watching." The first year was survival. The second year we started to find a rhythm, Dad, Lucas, and me, a sad rhythm, but a rhythm nonetheless. We'd have dinner together every night. We'd talk about Mom openly. We kept her pictures everywhere, on the mantle, in the hallway, on our bedside tables. The living room still had her favorite blue throw blanket on the couch. Her garden in the backyard grew wild, but we couldn't bring ourselves to change it. "This is her house too," Dad would say. "Just because she's not here physically doesn't mean we erase her." I loved my father for that, for not pretending Mom never existed, for letting us grieve at our own pace. But then, 3 years after Mom died, everything changed. Dad met Brittany at a work conference. She was 26, he was 43, a 17-year age gap that should have been our first warning sign. She worked in marketing, was beautiful in that Instagram filter kind of way, and seemed nice enough at first. "She's not trying to replace your mom," Dad assured us after their 3rd date. "Nobody could ever replace your mother. But I'm lonely, kids, and life is for the living." I understood, I really did. I didn't want Dad to be alone forever. Lucas and I had even talked about it, how maybe Dad should date again, find someone who made him smile like he used to. But we imagined someone kind, someone who'd understand that our mother's memory was part of our family, someone who'd love us because we were part of Dad, not despite it. Brittany was not that person. The first 6 months were fine. Brittany was charming when she wanted to be. She'd bring us gifts, laugh at Dad's jokes, and play the part of the cool, young girlfriend who was totally okay with dating a widower with 2 kids. But I noticed small things. The way her smile didn't reach her eyes when Dad talked about Mom. How she changed the subject whenever Jennifer's name came up. The way she'd touch things Mom had loved, her favorite coffee mug, her reading chair, with a look that wasn't admiration. It was assessment, like she was calculating what needed to go. They got engaged after 10 months of dating. "I know it seems fast," Dad said, sitting Lucas and me down. "But when you know, you know. And I know Brittany is who I want to spend my life with." "What about Mom?" Lucas asked in his small, 9-year-old voice. "Are you spending your life with her too?" Dad's face crumpled. "Mom is always with us, buddy, always. Brittany knows that?" But Brittany didn't know that. Or she did, and she hated it. The wedding was small, just family. I was a bridesmaid wearing a dress I hated in a color Mom would have never chosen, Brittany's favorite shade of blush pink. During the ceremony, when the officiant mentioned Tom's late wife Jennifer, Brittany's jaw clenched so tight I could see it from where I stood. At the reception, Abuela Rosa tried to make a toast honoring Mom's memory, talking about how Jennifer would have wanted Tom to find happiness again. Brittany cut her off. "Thank you, but this is our day," Brittany said with a frozen smile. "Let's focus on the future, not the past." The room went silent. Abuela slowly sat down, hurt written across her face. Dad didn't say anything. He just squeezed Brittany's hand and suggested they cut the cake. That's when I knew we were in trouble. The changes started the week after the honeymoon. "We need to redecorate," Brittany announced at breakfast. "This house feels so dated, dark. We need light, freshness, a new beginning." The living room was first. Mom's blue throw blanket disappeared. "It was falling apart," Brittany claimed, though I'd seen her stuff it in a garbage bag in the garage. Mom's favorite reading chair, a worn, soft armchair where she'd read to us every night, vanished next. "I donated it. You should be happy, Maya. Some child in need is enjoying it now." But I wasn't happy. That chair smelled like Mom. Like her lavender lotion and the vanilla candles she loved. I'd sit in it sometimes when I missed her most, close my eyes and pretend she was still there. Now it was gone. The photos were next. Not all at once. Brittany was smart. She removed them gradually, one or two at a time, replacing them with new wedding photos, pictures of her and Dad traveling, shots of the new family. "You still have pictures in your rooms," she'd say when I protested. "But the common areas need to reflect our current family, not the past." Current family? As if Lucas and I weren't part of Mom's family anymore. As if we'd been upgraded like an old phone model. Mom's belongings started disappearing too, her jewelry box gone. "I'm sure your grandmother would love to have it," Brittany said, though she never gave it to Abuela, her collection of art books donated. Her gardening tools, taking up space in the shed. Every week something else vanished, and every week I felt a little more of my mother being erased. "Dad, please," I begged one night after Brittany had thrown away Mom's recipe box. "Can you tell her to stop? Those recipes were Mom's. Some of them were from her grandmother, their family history." Dad sighed, looking tired. "Maya, honey, Brittany is trying to make this house feel like home. She's your stepmother now. We need to make her feel welcome." "What about making us feel welcome?" I shot back. "This was our home first, our home with Mom." "Your mother is gone, Maya," Dad's voice rose, frustration spilling over. "She's been gone for years. At some point, we have to move forward. You're 13, you're old enough to understand that." I ran to my room and cried into my pillow, muffling the sounds so Lucas wouldn't hear from next door. But he did hear. He crawled into bed with me like he used to when we were little. "I miss Mommy," he whispered. "Why is Brittany taking all her stuff?" "I don't know, Luke," I said, holding him tight. "I don't know, but I did know. Brittany wasn't just redecorating. She was erasing. Erasing Mom. Erasing her memory. Erasing any evidence that Jennifer Rodriguez had ever existed in this house, had ever been loved, had ever mattered. And the worst part, Dad was letting her. Things escalated when Brittany got pregnant. "We're having a baby," she announced at dinner, practically glowing. Dad looked happier than I'd seen him in years. They hugged, kissed, talked about nursery colors and baby names. Lucas and I sat there feeling like furniture. "Isn't this exciting?" Dad asked us. "You're going to be a big brother and sister again?" "Again?" Brittany's head snapped toward him. "This is our first baby, Tom?" "I meant they're already siblings to each other. Now they'll have another." "This is our baby," Brittany interrupted, her hand protective over her still flat stomach. "Our family?" The way she said it made it clear. Lucas and I were something separate, something other. We were Tom's old life. This baby would be their real life. The pregnancy made everything worse. Brittany became more territorial, more hostile toward anything related to Mom. She completely redecorated what had been Mom's home office, turning it into a nursery. She painted over the soft yellow Mom had chosen, replacing it with gray and white. Modern, cold, nothing like the warm, loving spaces Mom had created. "Can we at least keep Mom's desk?" I asked. It was a beautiful antique desk Mom had refinished herself, spending weeks sanding and staining it. "It doesn't match the aesthetic," Brittany said, not even looking up from her phone where she was scrolling through baby furniture. "I'm selling it." "You can't sell Mom's desk. It's not your mother's desk anymore, Maya. It's my house and I'll do what I want with my furniture." I turned to Dad, desperate. "Dad, please, that desk is special. Mom worked so hard on it." Dad looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. Maybe we could keep it in storage just in case of what, Tom?" Brittany's voice turned icy. In case your dead wife comes back and needs it? The room went silent. Lucas's fork clattered against his plate. That's not what I meant, Dad said quietly. Then what did you mean? I'm carrying your child, I'm your wife, your alive wife. And I'm tired, so tired of competing with a ghost, she stormed out. Dad followed her, leaving Lucas and me alone at the dinner table. I hate her, Lucas whispered, tears streaming down his face. I hate her, Maya, is that wrong? Is it wrong to hate her? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to be the mature older sister who said we should be patient, understanding, kind, but I couldn't, because I hated her too. No, Luke, I said, pulling him close. It's not wrong. The final straw came 3 weeks later on what would have been Mom's 41st birthday. Every year since Mom died, we had a tradition. Abuela Rosa would pick us up and we'd visit Mom's grave. We'd bring her favorite flowers, purple irises, and we'd sit there for an hour, talking to her, telling her about our lives, crying when we needed to, laughing when we remembered funny stories. It was sacred to us. Our way of keeping Mom present, of honoring her memory, of making sure she knew we hadn't forgotten her. The morning of Mom's birthday, I came downstairs already dressed, with Lucas right behind me. Abuela was picking us up at 10 a.m. Brittany was sitting at the kitchen table, 7 months pregnant now, scrolling through her phone. Dad was making coffee. We'll be back by lunch, I said, grabbing my jacket. Where are you going? Brittany asked. It's Mom's birthday, Lucas said. We're going to the cemetery with Abuela. Brittany's face hardened. No, you're not. What? I froze. You're not going to the cemetery. It's unhealthy, morbid. You need to stop obsessing over a dead woman and focus on your actual living family. She is our family, I shouted. She's our mother. She was your mother, past tense. I'm your family now. This baby, she gestured to her belly, is your family now, and I won't have my children growing up thinking it's normal to worship at the altar of the dead. They're not your children, the words exploded out of me. We're not yours. We're moms, will always be moms, and you can't change that no matter how many pictures you take down or how much stuff you throw away or how many times you pretend she never existed. Maya, Dad's voice cracked like a whip. Apologize to Brittany now. No, Maya Catherine Rodriguez, you will apologize or you're grounded for a month. I stared at my father, this man I barely recognized anymore. The man who used to defend Mom's memory, who used to say she'd always be part of our family, who used to understand why we needed to remember her. That man was gone. And in his place was someone who chose his pregnant wife over his grieving children. Fine, I said coldly. I'm sorry, Brittany. I'm sorry you're so insecure that you're jealous of a dead woman. I'm sorry you're so selfish that you can't let 2 kids remember their mother. And I'm sorry my dad married you. I ran out of the house before Dad could respond, Lucas right behind me. Abuela's car was just pulling up. We threw ourselves into her backseat, both of us sobbing. Mijos, what happened? Abuela asked, alarmed. She won't let us go, Lucas cried. Brittany says we can't visit Mommy. Abuela's face transformed. The sweet, gentle grandmother disappeared, replaced by a fierce protector. She got out of the car and marched toward our house. I don't know exactly what was said, but I could hear shouting, Abuela's voice, Brittany's voice, Dad's voice trying to mediate. It lasted 10 minutes, then Abuela came back, her face set in stone, and got in the car. Let's go see your mother, she said quietly. We spent 2 hours at the cemetery. We brought Mom's favorite flowers, told her about school, about our lives, about how much we missed her. And we told her about Brittany. I don't know what to do, Mom, I whispered to the headstone. Dad's different now. He doesn't stand up for us anymore. He doesn't talk about you. It's like he's forgotten you and he wants us to forget you too. But I can't. I won't. When Abuela dropped us home, Dad was waiting. You deliberately disobeyed me, he said, his voice tight. We went to see our mother on her birthday, I shot back. What's wrong with you? When did you become this person? I'm trying to keep this family together, Maya. Do you know how hard it is for Brittany? She's pregnant, hormonal, trying to be a stepmother to 2 kids who resent her. We resent her because she's trying to erase Mom, Lucas yelled, finding his voice. She throws away Mom's stuff, she took down all her pictures, she won't let us talk about her, and you don't stop her, you don't do anything. Dad looked stricken. For a moment I thought he might actually hear us. Actually understand what he'd allowed to happen. But then Brittany appeared at the top of the stairs, one hand on her belly, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this anymore," she sobbed. "I try so hard to be a good stepmother and all I get is hate. They don't want me here, they've made that clear, so maybe I should just leave, take the baby and go." "Brittany, no," Dad rushed to her side. "Don't say that. Please? I have to think about our child, Tom. Our baby deserves to grow up in a home filled with love, not resentment. Not where his father's first family makes his mother feel like an intruder in her own house." It was masterful manipulation. I could see it clearly, the way she played the victim, the way she made herself the wounded party, the way she threatened to take the baby away. She knew Dad's weakness, his fear of losing another person he loved. And it worked. Dad turned to us, his face hard. "That's enough. Both of you go to your rooms. We'll discuss your punishment later." "Punishment?" I couldn't believe it. "We're being punished for visiting Mom's grave? You're being punished for defying me and upsetting Brittany when she's pregnant and vulnerable. What about us?" I screamed. "What about when we're upset and vulnerable? What about when we're grieving our dead mother? Where were you then? Oh, right, you were too busy with your new wife to care." "To your room." Now, Lucas and I ran upstairs and I slammed my door so hard a picture fell off the wall. It was a photo of Mom, Dad, baby Lucas, and me at the beach, all of us laughing, covered in sand. When life was perfect. When Mom was alive, when Dad loved us more than he feared being alone. I picked up the photo and held it to my chest, crying so hard I thought I might break apart. That night I heard Dad and Brittany talking in their room. The walls were thin enough that if I pressed my ear to mine, I could hear most of it. Can't keep doing this," Brittany was saying. "It's me and our baby or them and their dead mother's memory. You have to choose, Tom." Silence. "I'm serious. I won't raise my child in a house where I'm constantly compared to a ghost. Where I'm the villain for wanting to be treated like an actual wife and not some placeholder until Jennifer comes back from the dead." "That's not fair," Dad said quietly. "Isn't it? Be honest with yourself. You've built a shrine to Jennifer in this house. You let those kids worship her memory to an unhealthy degree. They need therapy, Tom. They need to move on, and so do you." More silence. "I love you," Brittany continued, her voice softer now. "I love you so much, and I'm having your baby, but I can't compete with Jennifer anymore. I just can't. So you need to decide, the life you had or the life you're building. The past or the future. You're asking me to choose between my wife and my children," Dad said, his voice strained. "No, I'm asking you to help your children move into a healthy future instead of keeping them trapped in grief. I'm asking you to be a husband to me, not a widower clinging to what's gone. I'm asking you to choose life." The way she framed it, like she was the reasonable one, the healthy one, the one trying to help us move forward while we were stuck in the past, made me sick. Because from her perspective, she probably believed it. She probably genuinely thought she was helping. But she wasn't helping. She was erasing. There's a difference between moving forward and pretending the past never happened. Between healing and forgetting. Between building a new life and destroying what remains of the old one. Brittany didn't want us to heal. She wanted us to forget Mom ever existed. Because as long as we remembered her, as long as we loved her, Brittany would never be first. She'd always be second, always be the replacement. And she couldn't stand it. The next morning at breakfast, Dad made an announcement. "I've scheduled family therapy for all of us," he said. "We're going to see Dr. Patterson twice a week. We need professional help working through this transition." "What transition?" I asked bitterly. "The transition where we're forced to forget our mother?" "The transition," Brittany interjected, "where we learn to function as a blended family. Where you two learn healthy coping mechanisms for grief instead of clinging to the past." "Our mother died 5 years ago," Lucas said, his voice breaking. "We're not clinging, we're remembering. There's a difference." "That's exactly what Dr. Patterson will help us understand," Dad said in that frustratingly calm voice parents use when they think they know better than you. Therapy started the following week. Dr. Patterson was in her 50s with kind eyes and a calm demeanor. The first session was just her getting to know us, our history, our family structure, what brought us in. When Lucas and I explained about Mom, about how Brittany had been removing her belongings and photos, about being forbidden from visiting her grave, Dr. Patterson's expression shifted. Slightly, almost imperceptibly. But I saw it. "And how does that make you feel?" she asked us. "When your mother's belongings are removed?" Like she's being erased, I said simply. Like we're not allowed to love her anymore. And Tom, Brittany, what's your perspective on this? Brittany launched into her explanation. About how she'd tried so hard to bond with us, how we rejected her at every turn, how keeping a shrine to a dead woman was preventing the family from healing, how she was only trying to create a fresh start for everyone. I love those kids, Brittany said, and I wondered if she even believed her own lies. I want them to be happy, but they can't be happy while they're stuck in the past. And I can't be happy when I'm constantly compared to a dead woman I can never measure up to. Dr. Patterson nodded thoughtfully. It sounds like there's a lot of pain on all sides here. Maya, Lucas, you're grieving your mother and feel like her memory is being disrespected. Brittany, you're trying to establish yourself in a family where you feel like an outsider. Tom, you're caught in the middle, trying to honor your late wife while also moving forward with your new wife. Does that sound accurate? We all nodded. Here's what I'm observing, Dr. Patterson said carefully. Grief doesn't have a timeline. Children who lose a parent, especially at young ages, need to maintain connection to that parent's memory as part of their healing process. Removing photos, belongings, and forbidding grave visits isn't therapeutic, it's traumatic. It sends a message that their grief is invalid, their love is wrong, and their mother didn't matter. I could have hugged her. Brittany's face tightened. So what am I supposed to do? Live in Jennifer's shadow forever? No, Dr. Patterson said gently. But you're not in Jennifer's shadow. You're Tom's wife now. You have your own place in this family. The issue is that you're trying to erase Jennifer to make room for yourself when there's actually room for both. Jennifer's memory doesn't threaten your position unless you make it a competition. The silence in that room was deafening. Over the next few weeks, therapy sessions revealed more and more. Dr. Patterson asked Brittany about her childhood, her family, her past relationships. Slowly, a picture emerged. Brittany had always been compared to an older sister who was smarter, prettier, more successful. She'd spent her life trying to be enough, to be chosen, to be first. And now she'd married a widower whose first wife had been beloved, remembered, mourned. Brittany wasn't competing with a living woman who might have flaws. She was competing with a memory, and memories, Dr. Patterson pointed out, are often idealized. You can't win against a saint. The problem, Dr. Patterson said in one session, is that you're asking these children to betray their mother to make you feel secure. And that's not fair. Their love for Jennifer isn't a rejection of you unless you force them to choose. But Brittany couldn't hear it. Week after week, she'd twist Dr. Patterson's words, play the victim, cry about how hard she was trying. And Dad, desperate to keep his pregnant wife happy, would side with her more often than not. After 2 months of therapy, things came to a head. It was Mother's Day. The first Mother's Day since Brittany had joined our family. Lucas and I had made cards for Mom like we did every year. We planned to take them to the cemetery after breakfast. It was our tradition. Brittany came downstairs that morning, 8 months pregnant now, and smiled at us. Happy Mother's Day, she said brightly. We mumbled responses, focused on finishing our cards. What are those? She asked, though she clearly knew. Cards for Mom, Lucas said simply. We make them every year. Brittany's smile faltered. Every year? Yeah, I said, not looking up. We take them to the cemetery, read them to her, and leave them there. I see. Brittany's voice had gone cold. And what about me? I'm about to be a mother. I'm your mother now. Where's my card? I looked up, incredulous. You're not our mother, you're Dad's wife. I'm your stepmother, that makes me a mother figure in your life. No, I said flatly, it doesn't. We have a mother, her name is Jennifer. And just because she's dead doesn't mean you get to take her place. Maya, Dad's voice boomed from the kitchen doorway. That is incredibly disrespectful. Apologize to Brittany right now. No, Maya, I won't apologize for loving my mother. I won't apologize for refusing to replace her, and I won't apologize for telling the truth. I grabbed my card and ran for the door. If you walk out that door, you're grounded for 2 months, Dad yelled. I walked out anyway. Lucas hesitated for a second, then grabbed his card and followed me. We walked the 2 miles to the cemetery. By the time we got there, we were exhausted, sweaty, and crying. But we read our cards to Mom, told her about everything that was happening, and begged her for guidance we knew she couldn't give. I wish you were here, Lucas sobbed against her headstone. I wish you never died. I wish Brittany would just leave. Me too, buddy, I whispered. Me too. When we finally walked home hours later, Abuela's car was in the driveway, so was another car I didn't recognize. Inside, we found Dad, Brittany, Abuela, and a woman in a business suit sitting in the living room. The atmosphere was glacial. Maya Lucas, sit down, Dad said, his voice tight. We sat, confused and scared. This is Miss Hernandez, Dad continued. She's a social worker. Brittany and I have some concerns about your well-being, and we want to make sure you're getting the help you need. My blood ran cold. What kind of concerns? You've been increasingly defiant, disrespectful, and emotionally volatile, Brittany said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. We're worried about your mental health, about whether this home environment is suitable for you anymore. What does that mean? Lucas asked, his voice small. It means, Miss Hernandez said gently, that your father and stepmother are concerned that you might be better off in a different living situation. Somewhere with more structure, more support for your grief. You want to send us away? I couldn't believe it. You're trying to get rid of us? No one's getting rid of anyone, Dad said, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. We're just exploring options that might be better for everyone. By everyone, you mean Brittany, I said coldly. You want us gone so she can have her perfect little family with her precious baby and pretend we never existed. Just like she's pretending Mom never existed. That's not true, Brittany cried. I'm trying to help you. You're trying to erase us, Lucas shouted, tears streaming down his face. Just like you erased Mom. You throw away her stuff, take down her pictures, won't let us talk about her, won't let us visit her, and now you want to throw us away too? Enough, Dad stood up. Miss Hernandez, I think you have a clear picture of what we're dealing with. Actually, a new voice said from the doorway, I think I have a very clear picture. We all turned. Dr. Patterson stood there next to Abuela. Dr. Patterson? Dad looked confused. What are you doing here? Rosa called me, she said, referring to Abuela. She was concerned about what was happening and thought I should be here. And I'm glad she called because what I'm witnessing is deeply troubling. She turned to Miss Hernandez. I'm Dr. Patricia Patterson, the family therapist who's been working with this family for 2 months. And I need to be very clear about something. These children are not the problem. They're grieving children responding normally to an abnormal situation. What's abnormal is an adult woman trying to erase their mother's memory and now attempting to remove them from their home. Dr. Patterson, that's not what's happening, Brittany protested. Isn't it? I have detailed notes from our sessions. Notes about how you've systematically removed every trace of Jennifer from this house. How you've forbidden these children from normal grief rituals. How you've made your acceptance of them conditional on their rejection of their late mother. That's not stepmothering, that's emotional abuse. The room went silent. I would strongly advise against removing these children from their home, Dr. Patterson continued, looking at Miss Hernandez. What they need is stability, security, and the right to grieve their mother without persecution. What they don't need is to be further traumatized by being sent away because their stepmother can't handle normal childhood grief. Miss Hernandez looked between Dr. Patterson and Brittany, clearly reassessing the situation. Tom, Dr. Patterson turned to my father. You have a choice to make, and it's not between your new wife and your children. It's between enabling your wife's insecurity or protecting your children's mental health. Between being a husband or being a father, and right now you're failing at both. Dad looked like he'd been slapped. Brittany started crying harder, and I felt hope for the first time in months. Miss Hernandez stood. Mr. Rodriguez, I don't think removing the children is appropriate at this time. However, I will be scheduling follow-up visits to ensure their well-being, and I strongly recommend continued family therapy with Dr. Patterson. After Miss Hernandez left, the real confrontation began. How dare you undermine me like that? Brittany hissed at Dr. Patterson. I'm paying you to help this family and you've turned everyone against me? I'm paid to help the children, Dr. Patterson corrected, and they're being harmed. Not by their grief, by your inability to accept it. I've tried, Brittany screamed. I've tried so hard to love them, to be a good stepmother, to make this work, but they hate me. They've hated me from the start. Because you've been trying to delete their mother, Abuela spoke up, her voice fierce. You don't love them. You want them to be different children, children without a past, without a mother they remember, without grief that inconveniences you. But that's not who they are, that's not love. Brittany turned to Dad, sobbing. Are you going to let them talk to me like this? Your mother-in-law and your therapist and your children, they're all against me, Tom, all of them. And I can't do this anymore, I won't. She ran upstairs. We could hear her throwing things, slamming drawers. Dad stood there, torn, broken, caught between the life he'd had and the life he'd chosen. Tom, Dr. Patterson said quietly, I need you to understand something. The way Brittany has been treating your children is textbook emotional abuse. Isolation, erasure, manipulation, forcing them to choose between her approval and their own grief. If this continues, you won't just lose their trust, you'll lose them entirely. She's pregnant, Dad said weakly. She's hormonal, stressed. Being pregnant doesn't give someone the right to abuse children, Abuela said firmly. And you know Jennifer would never forgive you if you let this continue. At the mention of Mom's name, Dad's face crumpled. For the first time in over a year, I saw real emotion there, real grief, real recognition of what he'd allowed to happen. What do I do? He whispered. You choose your children, Dr. Patterson said simply. You set boundaries with Brittany. You make it clear that Jennifer's memory will be honored in this house, that these children have the right to grieve, and that their relationship with their late mother is not up for negotiation. And if Brittany can't accept that, then you have a decision to make about your marriage. Dad looked at me, at Lucas, really looked at us for the first time in months. We were both so thin, so sad, so much older than we should have been. I'm sorry, he said, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I got lost. I was so afraid of being alone again, of losing someone else, that I didn't see what I was doing to you. What I was allowing to happen. Lucas ran to him, sobbing. After a moment I did too. We held each other. And cried, the three of us, the remnants of the family we used to be, while Abuela and Dr. Patterson quietly stepped outside to give us privacy. I miss Mom, Lucas cried into Dad's chest. I miss her so much, and Brittany won't let us talk about her. She gets mad every time we say her name. I know, buddy, I know. Dad held us both tighter. That's going to change. I promise you that's going to change. How? I asked, pulling back to look at him. You said that before. You said Mom would always be part of our family, and then you let Brittany erase her. You let her throw away Mom's things. You didn't stop her when she took down the pictures. You didn't defend us when she said we couldn't visit Mom's grave. So how is it going to be different this time? Dad wiped his eyes, and I saw something I hadn't seen in over a year. Resolve. The strength that used to define him before grief and loneliness made him vulnerable to Brittany's manipulation. Because I'm going to set boundaries, he said. Real ones. And if Brittany can't respect them, then we'll have to figure out what that means for our marriage. She's going to leave you, Lucas said quietly. She said so. She said you had to choose. Then she leaves, Dad said, and I could hear how much that scared him. But I'm not choosing between you and her anymore. I'm choosing you, always. I should have chosen you from the start. Upstairs, we could hear Brittany still moving around, her footsteps heavy and angry. She's not going to accept this, I said. You know that, right? She's going to fight. Let her fight, Dad said. I'm your father first, I forgot that, but I'm remembering now. That night, Dad and Brittany had the biggest fight of their marriage. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop this time, but their voices carried through the whole house. Brittany was screaming, crying, threatening. Dad's voice was lower, calmer, but firm in a way I hadn't heard him be with her before. The pictures of Jennifer go back up, Dad said. In the common areas, this was her house too. She's part of this family's history, and our children need to see that she's honored. Are you kidding me? Brittany shrieked. You want me to raise my baby in a house filled with pictures of your dead wife? I want you to raise our baby in a house where his siblings feel loved and respected, where their grief is acknowledged, where their mother's memory is treated with dignity. I won't do it. I won't live like this. Then don't. The silence that followed was so complete I could hear my own heartbeat. What did you just say? Brittany's voice was dangerously quiet. I said then don't. If you can't live in a house where Jennifer is remembered, if you can't accept that my children need to grieve their mother, if you can't be a stepmother who puts their well-being above your own insecurity, then maybe you're right. Maybe this isn't going to work. You're choosing them over me, over your baby. I'm not choosing anyone over the baby. The baby will be loved and cherished and welcomed, but so will Maya and Lucas. And if you're asking me to choose between protecting my living children from emotional abuse or protecting your feelings, then yes. I choose my kids, every single time. You're going to regret this, Brittany said, her voice cold now. You're going to lose me, you're going to lose your son, and you're going to end up a lonely old man with two damaged kids who never learned to move on from their precious dead mother. Get out. What? Get out. Pack a bag and go to your parents' house. We both need space to think about whether this marriage can work, because right now I can't even look at you without seeing how much you've hurt my children. You can't kick me out. I'm pregnant with your child. I'm not kicking you out permanently. I'm saying we need separation. Space. Time to figure out if we can make this work under terms that protect everyone in this family, including Maya and Lucas. There was shuffling, slamming drawers, angry footsteps. 20 minutes later, Brittany stormed past our rooms with 2 suitcases, mascara running down her face. "This isn't over," she hissed when she saw me watching from my doorway. "You think you've won. You've just destroyed your father's chance at happiness. When that baby comes and he realizes what he gave up for 2 ungrateful brats, he'll hate you for it." She left, slamming the door so hard the whole house shook. Lucas came out of his room and looked at me with wide, scared eyes. "What's going to happen?" "I don't know," I admitted. Dad appeared at the top of the stairs, looking 10 years older than he had that morning. "Kids, come here." We sat in the living room, just the 3 of us for the first time in over a year, and Dad spoke to us like we were people, not problems. "I owe you both an enormous apology," he began. "I got remarried thinking it would make our lives better, thinking it would give us a fresh start, thinking you needed a mother figure. But I didn't pay attention to who I was bringing into your lives. I didn't protect you the way I should have. I let my fear of being alone cloud my judgment, and you paid the price." "Is Brittany coming back?" Lucas asked. "I don't know," Dad said honestly. "We have a lot to work through. She has a lot of growing to do. And if she can't do that growing, if she can't learn to respect your mother's memory and your grief, then no, she won't come back, because I won't let her hurt you anymore." "What about the baby?" I asked. "That's our brother or sister. And we'll love that baby," Dad said. "No matter what happens between Brittany and me, that child is your sibling. We'll figure out custody, visitation, co-parenting. But the baby doesn't change the fact that you two are my priority. You've always been my priority. I just lost sight of that for a while." That night, for the first time in over a year, our house felt peaceful. We ordered pizza, Mom's favorite, with mushrooms and black olives. We watched one of Mom's favorite movies. We looked through old photo albums, and Dad told stories about Mom that made us laugh and cry at the same time. "Remember when she tried to bake that elaborate birthday cake for Maya's 7th birthday?" Dad chuckled. "It collapsed in the middle and she was so upset. But then she just filled the crater with ice cream and called it an ice cream volcano cake. It was the best cake I ever had," I said, remembering. "Because Mom made it?" "Your mother wasn't perfect," Dad said softly. "She burnt dinner half the time, she sang off-key in the car, and she could never remember where she put her keys. But she loved you two more than life itself. And I'm sorry, so sorry, that I let anyone make you feel like that love didn't matter." The next few weeks were hard. Brittany called constantly, alternating between apologies and accusations. Her parents called too, demanding that Dad come to his senses and take care of his pregnant wife. But Dad held firm. "I'll co-parent our child," he told Brittany during one of their many phone calls. "I'll pay child support. I'll be involved in the baby's life. But I won't come back to a marriage where my other children are being abused. If you want to reconcile, you need to do serious therapy work. You need to understand why what you did was harmful. And you need to genuinely apologize to Maya and Lucas and prove that you can respect Jennifer's place in our family." "I won't apologize for trying to have a normal marriage," Brittany screamed through the phone. "I won't apologize for not wanting to live in a shrine to a dead woman." "Then we're done," Dad said simply and hung up. Dr. Patterson continued seeing us, just Dad, Lucas, and me now. We worked through a lot in those sessions. Dad's grief over losing Mom, which he'd never fully processed because he'd jumped into a new relationship too quickly. My anger at him for abandoning us emotionally. Lucas's fear that everyone he loved would eventually leave or forget about him. "Your father made mistakes," Dr. Patterson told us in one session. "Significant ones, but he's doing the work now, he's making amends. The question is whether you two can forgive him and rebuild trust." It took time. Months, actually. There were setbacks and hard conversations and moments where I wasn't sure we'd ever feel like a real family again, but slowly we healed. Dad put Mom's pictures back up, all of them. Her portrait went back over the fireplace. Her photos lined the hallway. Her presence was welcomed back into our home. We started new traditions that honored the old ones. Friday nights became Jennifer nights, where we'd make one of Mom's recipes, look at old photos, and share our favorite memories of her. It wasn't sad anymore. It was healing. Dad even worked with a carpenter to restore Mom's desk, which Brittany had sold. He tracked down the buyer, paid triple what they'd paid for it, and had it professionally refinished. It went in the living room, filled with fresh flowers every week, purple irises, Mom's favorite. 3 months after Brittany left, she went into labor. Dad was there for the birth, not as her partner, but as the father of their child. The baby was a boy. They named him Christopher. When Dad brought photos home to show us, Lucas and I looked at our baby brother with complicated feelings. He was beautiful, tiny, and perfect, with Dad's nose and Brittany's eyes. Our brother. Part of our family, even though the circumstances were messy. "Can we meet him?" Lucas asked quietly. "Of course," Dad said. "He's your brother. Brittany can't take that away, no matter what happens between her and me." The first visit was awkward. Brittany's parents' house where she was living felt hostile. Brittany herself looked exhausted and unhappy. But when she put baby Christopher in my arms, something shifted. He was so small, so innocent. None of this was his fault. He didn't ask to be born into a broken family, to be the center of conflict, to have a mother who couldn't see past her own insecurity. "Hi, Christopher," I whispered. "I'm your big sister Maya, and this is your big brother Lucas. We're going to love you so much, okay? No matter what happens with the grown-ups, we're going to love you." Brittany watched us with wet eyes, and for a moment I saw something like regret there, but she didn't apologize. She didn't acknowledge what she'd done. She just watched us hold her baby and said nothing. Over the next few months, we established a custody arrangement. Christopher would spend weekends with us once he was old enough. Dad paid generous child support. He was committed to being present in Christopher's life, even if his marriage to Brittany was over. Brittany made a few attempts at reconciliation, but they always fell apart because she couldn't do the one thing that was required: genuinely apologize and accept Mom's place in our family. "I'm willing to tolerate Jennifer's pictures," she said during one mediation session, "but I won't pretend to be happy about it. And I won't have my son growing up thinking his father's first wife was some kind of saint." "No one's asking you to pretend Jennifer was perfect," Dr. Patterson said patiently. "We're asking you to respect that she was Maya and Lucas's mother, and they have the right to remember and love her without your resentment." "I can't do that," Brittany said finally. "I've tried, I really have. But every time I see her pictures, every time they talk about her, I feel like I'm nothing. Like I'm just the woman who came after the real love of Tom's life." "That's your insecurity talking," Dr. Patterson said. "And until you work through that, really work through it, you won't be able to have healthy relationships with Tom's children, or possibly any stepchildren." Brittany never did that work. The divorce was finalized when Christopher was 8 months old. 2 years later, I'm 16 now. Lucas is 13. Christopher is 2.5 and the most joyful little boy you've ever met. He spends every other weekend with us and one weeknight for dinner. He calls Dad Dada and is just starting to call me Maya and Lucas Luca. He's too young to understand the complexity of his family situation, but he knows he's loved. Brittany has a new boyfriend. According to Dad, the boyfriend doesn't have kids and doesn't want any, which probably makes things easier for her. She's cordial with Dad now, professional in their co-parenting communications, but there's no warmth there. No friendship. Just two people trying to raise a child together despite a failed marriage. She's never apologized to Lucas and me. Not really. Once, when dropping off Christopher, she said, "I'm sorry things worked out the way they did." But that's not an apology. That's regret about consequences, not acknowledgement of harm. We're okay with that now. We don't need her apology to heal. We've done that work ourselves, with Dad, with Dr. Patterson, with Abuela Rosa, who still comes for dinner every Sunday and fills our house with love and Mom's favorite recipes. Dad is different now, better. He's in therapy individually, working through his guilt over how he handled things with Brittany, processing his grief over Mom properly this time. He's present with us in ways he wasn't before. He talks about Mom openly, shares memories, laughs at stories we tell about her. "I spent so long trying to move on from your mother," he told me recently, "that I forgot I don't have to move on from her to move forward." She's part of who I am, who you are, who we are as a family. Brittany couldn't accept that, and I couldn't see that her inability to accept it was the problem, not your love for your mom. Our house is filled with Mom's memory again, but it doesn't feel sad anymore. It feels complete. Her pictures smile down at us from the walls. Her garden has been restored. Abuela and I work on it together now, planting her favorite flowers. Her recipes are in regular rotation for family dinners. And Christopher, our baby brother, is growing up knowing he had a sister he never met. We show him pictures of Mom. We tell him stories about her. We make sure he knows that his big sister and big brother came from a love story that ended too soon, but that was beautiful while it lasted. Who dat? Christopher asked last week, pointing to Mom's portrait over the fireplace. That's Jennifer, Dad said, picking him up. She was Maya and Lucas's mommy. She was very special. She pretty, Christopher observed with his limited vocabulary. She was, Lucas said, coming to stand next to them. Inside and out. Some people might think it's confusing for Christopher to grow up with his dead half-sibling's mother's pictures in his father's house, but we don't think so. We think it teaches him something important, that love doesn't end with death, that family can be complicated and messy and still be filled with love, that you can honor the past while building the future. Brittany will probably never understand that. She'll probably always see Mom as competition, as the reason her marriage failed, as the ghost she couldn't defeat. But the truth is, Mom never defeated her. Brittany defeated herself. Her insecurity, her jealousy, her inability to make room in her heart for children who came with grief and memories and a mother they'd never stop loving, that's what destroyed her marriage. Not Mom, not us. Dad's not dating anyone. I'm not ready, he says. And honestly, I don't know if I want to go through that again. I have you three, I have Abuela, I have work I enjoy, friends I value. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it is. Or maybe someday he'll meet someone who understands that loving a widower with children means accepting that his late wife will always be part of the family. Someone secure enough to honor Mom's memory without feeling threatened by it. Someone who can love us without trying to rewrite our history. If that person exists, we'll welcome her. But if she doesn't, we're okay. The three of us four, when Christopher is here, are a family. Broken in places, healed in others, but a family nonetheless. I started a blog last year called Growing Up with Grief. I write about losing Mom, about the disaster with Brittany, about learning to set boundaries and honor my own feelings. I write for other kids who have lost parents, who have step-parents who don't understand, who feel caught between honoring the dead and pleasing the living. The response has been overwhelming. Hundreds of kids have reached out, sharing their own stories. Many of them have step-parents like Brittany, people who see their grief as competition, their memories as betrayal, their love for their deceased parent as rejection of the living one. You saved me, one girl wrote. My stepmom was doing exactly what Brittany did to you. She was erasing my dad, who died when I was 7, and I thought I was crazy for being upset about it. Reading your story helped me tell my mom how I was feeling. We're in therapy now, and it's getting better. That message made me cry. Because if all the pain with Brittany meant I could help even one kid feel less alone, less crazy, less wrong for grieving, then maybe it was worth it. Lucas is thriving too. He's playing soccer, getting good grades, and has a tight group of friends. He still has hard days when he misses Mom so intensely it physically hurts, but he's learned to talk about it instead of holding it in. I'm glad we fought for Mom, he told me recently. I'm glad we didn't let Brittany erase her, because now when I think about Mom, I don't feel sad that she's gone. I feel grateful that she was ours. That's the thing about grief. It never fully goes away. 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now, we'll still miss Mom. We'll still wish she was here to see us graduate, get married, have our own kids. We'll still feel that mom-shaped hole in our lives. But we've learned that grief and joy can coexist. That you can miss someone desperately and still laugh until your stomach hurts. That honoring the dead doesn't mean you can't live fully. Mom's death broke us. Brittany's cruelty almost destroyed us, but we survived, we healed, we became stronger in the broken places. And most importantly, we learned this: you don't have to erase the past to build a future. You don't have to forget someone to move forward. And you never ever have to apologize for loving someone who's gone. Mom's memory isn't a shrine, it's not an obsession, it's not unhealthy attachment. It's love, pure, simple, eternal love. And nobody, not Brittany, not anyone, can take that away from us. Epilogue. Mother's Day, 3 years after I'm 17 now, getting ready to graduate high school in a few weeks. Lucas is 14, hitting that awkward teenage phase where he's all elbows and attitude. Christopher is 3, a chatterbox who narrates everything he does and thinks the sun rises and sets with his big siblings. It's Mother's Day and we're at the cemetery like we are every year. But this time, Christopher is with us. "Mommy sleeping?" he asks, looking at Mom's headstone with confusion. "Sort of," I say, picking him up. "Remember how we talked about how some people's bodies stop working and they go to heaven?" "Uh-huh." "Well, this is where Jennifer's body is resting, but her spirit, the part that made her who she was, that's in heaven. And maybe a little bit in us too." Christopher considers this with the seriousness only a 3-year-old can muster. Then he pats the headstone gently. "Hi, Jennifer, I'm Christopher, I'm your…" He looks at me confused. "She would have been your stepmother if she'd lived," Dad says gently. "But really, she's your brother and sister's mom, and they loved her very much." "I love her too," Christopher announces, as he does with literally everyone we mention. At 3, his capacity for love is infinite and uncomplicated. "I bet she'd love you too, buddy," Lucas says, ruffling Christopher's hair. We sit there for a while, the 4 of us, with Abuela sitting on a nearby bench watching us with tears in her eyes. We tell Mom about our lives, about my college acceptance to her alma mater, about Lucas making varsity soccer as a freshman, about Christopher's first complete sentence. "Brittany says I can't talk about you at her house," Christopher announces suddenly with that brutal honesty toddlers have. "She says it makes her sad." Dad and I exchange a look. "That's okay," I tell Christopher. "Everyone feels different things about different people. At Brittany's house, you follow Brittany's rules. But here with us, you can talk about anyone you want, okay?" "Okay," he's already distracted by a butterfly. "Some things never change." Brittany is still Brittany, still uncomfortable with Mom's memory, still unable to separate her own insecurity from her son's relationship with his half-siblings. But we've learned to work around it. Christopher knows he has 2 homes with 2 different rules, and somehow his 3-year-old brain handles it better than any of us adults do. As we're leaving the cemetery, Christopher turns back one more time. "Bye, Jennifer. See you next time?" And my heart breaks and heals at the same time, because this is what we fought for, not to keep Brittany away, not to destroy Dad's second chance at love, not to live in the past. We fought for this. The right to remember, the right to love someone who's gone without permission or apology, the right to teach the next generation that death doesn't end relationships and love doesn't have expiration dates. We fought for Mom, and we won. Did you like this story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If this story touched your heart, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect. This is Auntie Rose reminding you that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to forget. Until next time, darlings.